a conversation with a fellow clown. It's not very serious, we're clowning around. It's really just a clown-versation. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Clown-versation. I hope you're all doing very well today. Say hello in the comments. Let me know you're there. Say hi. Tell me where you are today, how you're doing, what you're doing. Be great to know you're there. And of course, as always, chip in the conversation and you can ask questions, because today I'm talking to the very amazing expert, practitioner, theorist, historian, and every man of clown, the amazing John Towsen, in just a couple of minutes, folks. Now, I've been absent for a few weeks, I know, from this forum, from Clown-versations, and, you know, it's just, I've been busy. I've been teaching in person. I've been to Finland. I've been running all over the place, and the online stuff has just kind of moved to the back burner a little bit. So I've been missing you. And it's great to be back with you again. And I hope you've all been doing really well since I was last on your screens. And I just quickly, before I introduce John, I just wanted to mention that, you know, although I don't have a lot going on online at the moment, I am planning for a return of the Clown Connection in September. And for those of you who don't know, the Clown Connection is kind of, I guess you might call it my signature clown course. It's online. It's 8 weeks of kind of combining theory and practice. So each week is a different unit, a different topic in relation to clown. And there's a kind of a lecture presentation about that topic and a live workshop, which explores in practice the themes and topics from that week's theme. So, hey Chad from the Red Nose Factory, good to have you. So yeah, I'm opening up very, very soon. It's going to be running starting in September. So if you're interested in that at all and you want to get on the wait list, there's only 10 places, and you know, I'll be offering some kind of early bird discounts. So if you're interested in taking the Clown Connection in September, do get in touch on Facebook. You can, if you're not in the way of the Clown Facebook group, join that group and let me know there. You can private message me. You can email me at barnabyking@gmail.com. And of course, there's the clown-spirit.com website where you can also see all the stuff that's coming up and get in touch with me. So that's the Clown Connection coming up in September. Now, John Towsen is sort of an epic hero figure in the clown world. And he finished writing his amazing book, Clowns, in the same year that I was born, 1975. So that tells you something about how long this guy has been, you know, a figurehead, if you like, in the clown world. This is a book which, I don't know, we all refer to all the time. It's kind of a Bible, if you like, of clowning. And I'm going to ask him about it today because I don't know how lucky I am to be able to do this. I get to meet these incredible people, and today is no exception. I am very, very excited to meet and talk to John Towsen, but I'm also not exactly sure if he's there and where he is, because he's kind of gone missing, right? I mean, he finished writing that physical theater blog about a physical comedy blog about 4 years ago, and we haven't heard from him since. So I don't know where he's been. Maybe he's been hiding out in the woods somewhere. I have a feeling that we have a cameraman who's searching for him right now, who's on his scent. So I'm just going to see if we can find John. John, are you there? Is that John? Hang on. Whoa, wait a minute. We're in the woods. I don't know where we are. We're somewhere very remote. And there's a figure in the distance. It's coming towards us. Could this be?
Out of the woods with my cup of tea, and there's a camera.
Is the wild man of the woods with a cup of tea? Hang on a minute. Where'd you get that tea from?
Oh, secret formula: hot water and tea bag. Yeah.
Two Boots is the Two Boots man. And excuse me, are you John Towsen?
Yeah. Why? How did you know?
We've been trying to find you for a very long time, and we're wondering if you'd show us around a little bit.
Yeah, I have that very hard to find email address, John Towsen at Gmail. So this is what I've been working on with some clown carpenter friends for 2 years. We're in Greenwood Lake, New York, which is 45 minutes from the GW Bridge, the George Washington Bridge to Manhattan. This is a log cabin home with 6 bedrooms and needs some work, but we're working on it. And this used to be woods 2 years ago. We built all of this.
This is
it's
amazing.
95% done.
This is what you've been doing for the last 2 years. This is
like
your COVID project.
Like 7 days a week, yeah.
You escaped from New York and you came and you decided to build the Clown Heaven.
I think they froze here.
Falling Coyote Studios. 22 Cliff Road, everybody. You saw it here first. Oh my goodness. Who would have thought? Incredible. There's the coyote. It's a beautiful piano from 1926 with an incredible illustration on it. Oh my gosh.
That piano was painted by Karen Gersh, and it's commemorating a visit to Goshen, New York by a circus in 1926.
This is a stunning space. How beautiful. John, congratulations.
So, yeah, we have this land beam up here. We very soon we'll be putting in the anchor points so we can hang trapeze and silks and web and all that.
Yeah.
And we're building up here. That's why we still got tools on the ground. Last major construction here. That's going to be the tech booth. Basically we're done. People have already been using it. But the best thing in our exclusive bathroom
oh, check it out. It's a coyote toilet roll holder.
He looks so angry. I think he's saying, wipe your damn ass.
He's saying, keep away from here. That's amazing. Well, this is a very beautiful, enviable space for clown. I'm so excited to see this.
This is a prototype. This is Wiley, positive Wiley.
I've lost. You've frozen there for a second, John. I'm not sure.
We good now?
Oh, sort of. I can hear you.
So that's going to be. We have a new one that's being painted and decorated to look like the backside of Wiley.
Yeah.
Oh, I froze again.
Oh.
No, you're good now.
How we do? Okay, we good here?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're it's been a long time, but it's basically done. We will have a lot of posters, photographs lining all the walls, so it'll be also a bit of a museum. That will.
Are those your hats over there, John? Those your is that your hat collection?
Yeah, those are juggling hats. Yep. And we'll have tight wire and slack wire in here as well.
That's very cool. So it's much more than clowning. It's circus, all the stuff.
Yeah, it's whatever. I mean, it's a space. I mean, anybody can do anything. I have a friend who wants to do contact improvisation stuff here, you know.
Yeah.
We've got a ton of equipment, mats and whatever.
So your objective with it is for it to be a space that is used by many people for many things. It's not a sort of personal project, would you say?
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, it's somewhere in between the two. I always, going back to the late 70s, first space in Manhattan, and you're renting and then the rent goes up and you get kicked out of the neighborhood. And so I always wanted my own space. And, now that I'm an old man and I could afford it if I built it, have a place to roll out of bed and go work out. If I wake up at 5, the birds wake me up at 5:30. Sometimes I come over here and I'm already starting stretching and doing some juggling or whatever. But yeah, it's a place to rehearse. I don't see it as it's not Celebration Barn. It's not going to be really running workshops here, I don't think.
Yeah.
But friends can come up and rehearse. I want to rehearse with people and they can stay a while because, like I said, we got 6 bedrooms. So it's.
So can I ask this obviously is a huge creative project in itself, but I'm wondering what your sort of first creative project in it is going to be. Do you have like a research project or a production show or anything in mind to start working on?
No. That's the simple answer.
Okay.
A lot of things percolating, but that's the simple answer. A couple of people have already used it. I had a magician friend come up who is working on a knife throwing act, and 5 people came up for the weekend. But yeah, we'll see.
It's a dream come true. It's amazing.
If you build it, they will come, or the ideas will come. I never have a shortage of ideas, so I'm not too worried.
Right. That is absolutely true. And I want to hear some of your ideas, John. Like actually, just before that, right now you've got that hoop right above your head and it looks like a halo. It's a very cool image. Just want to say that. And I love the fact that you have that hoop over the door there, because it's sort of, for me anyway, I'm sure for you, the symbol of clown, the circle, the sort of circle, the 0.
Well, the usual comment I get is, you're going to put a clown nose above the hoop between the windows, right? Because it looks like a face.
Oh yeah, I didn't even see that. Totally.
So that's possible too.
That's actually
I don't know.
Almost, it's the nose itself, actually, in a way. The hoop is kind of,
yeah.
You could see it either way. That's really cool.
It's leave it to your imagination.
Yeah, that's the best thing. Don't fill in too many of the blanks.
Right.
So Trico Circus Theater says, John is an inspiration to a lot of us. I'm getting some comments here.
Who said that?
I don't know who it is. Trico?
Yeah.
Trico? Triko.
Yeah.
I mean, you're an inspiration to a lot of people around the world, so it doesn't necessarily mean it's somebody you know.
But I'm old and senile, so maybe I forgot. But,
well, you don't come across as very senile yet, John. I think you got to.
No, I'm doing okay, actually. I am going to be 74 in September, so I'm doing okay.
Congratulations! And as I just said in the intro, you finished writing Clowns the year I was born, 1975.
So that makes you younger than me, I guess. Yeah. We're coming up on how many years?
50.
76. So yeah, 46 years.
My 50th birthday year will be your 50th anniversary of the book.
Did that joke. This is my old clown partner, who I've known 50 years, Fred Yockers. We worked together for 10, 11, 12 years, 70s and 80s. And he became a carpenter and builder. So he's more the brains behind this than me.
And I'm talking Barnaby, is that right?
Barnaby,
Yeah, hi Fred.
Well, the last time John and I were this close, we were doing a juggling routine with an apple and we were both eating it. And all of a sudden I discovered I had apple allergies. And I had to run off stage coughing, and he probably doesn't remember. But we can demonstrate the back to that.
Inside joke. I have a good juggling apple eating story. When I wrote the book, so 76, they put me on a tour, right? And the last show, the very last thing I did on the tour was a good show. It was a NPR station, in Boston. What is it? WBGH? Something like that, in Boston. Anyway, they said, now we want you to do something for the opening, 20 seconds long, 15 seconds at max. And, it's got to be visual and funny, blah, blah, blah. So, I knew by then it was a cliche, but I did the juggle 3 balls or 3 apples. When you have one of them's an apple, you eat the apple. And I did it, and I got a piece of apple skin caught in the back of my throat. So I'm doing this 10-minute interview live. I'm just like, they're asking me all these questions and showing some slides. And I could barely just nod my head yes and no. It was live. It was like one of the better shows to be on. It was like, oh my God.
Well, what are we going to say to that? This sounds very clown to me.
Yeah.
So the apple thing also reminds me of William Tell. Did you guys ever do that?
No, I know the routine. Yeah, no, I've never done it. Yeah. Chaplin beat us to it.
Yeah.
And the Fratellini.
Yeah. I love the moment where you have your mouth, one partner has the mouth full of apples and they can't hold it anymore, and the other one is just right in their face, and then you just spit out the whole apple into your partner's face. Now
that's pre-COVID comedy.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it just made me think of. Right, we feel differently about proximity now and bodily fluids and things.
Yeah, I know. But I haven't taught before COVID hit, like that February, early March. I was teaching in Las Vegas for a week, and then in Vienna for a week, and Zagreb for a week, wow. And things got worse quick, and I could barely get back to the United States. And since then, I haven't taught physical comedy, and people like one group in Germany has, well, could you teach it with masks on and no touching? I said, well, it's all partner work, and we touch, So I said, no, we better wait till we can actually do it for real. So things have changed.
It's been interesting. I did a workshop with Giovanni Fusetti a few months ago, and we were still kind of on the verge, and they asked us to wear masks in the workshop, but it created this interesting situation where you can't see the mouth, but then we agreed that
when wear comedian masks.
Yeah, we could have done that. Or the other way
around.
Not
very hygienic.
Yeah. Cover up all the parts except the parts that matter.
Yeah.
But when we agreed that for certain moments when you're solo on the stage and a distance from the rest of the class, that we could take the masks off. So we had these great reveal moments where you'd go up onto stage on your own with the mask on, face the audience and breathe, and then take the mask off. And it was
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool and funny. So was that what happened when COVID hit? You were like, right, I'm going to do my studio. This is the moment.
Well, it was weird because a lot of people who live in the city bought places after COVID hit, and this had been something I'd been wanting to do for a long time. And I bought it. I closed on it in February before COVID hit. No idea of COVID, really.
Amazing.
I mean, it was sort of something going on in Italy, but yeah. So I mean, it was good in a way because I also got it dirt cheap.
Yeah.
And and then it was like I actually didn't get up here until June because I didn't have a car. It needed work. Everything was too difficult to do, so I was just holed up in Manhattan. March, April, May into early June. Then finally I came up, and so it's basically 2 years ago last week, and we haven't stopped working since then. So it's been like a 7-day-a-week thing. You get up and with to-do lists staring you in the face, whatever room you go into.
So I got some comments here. La Liga says, my clown boss Scott O'Donnell gave me your book when I first joined RBBB Blue Alley. Lots of knowledge contained in the book. Thank you. Do you know that, Scott O'Donnell, RBBB?
I don't think so.
I don't know what
But
that is.
if we've met, just don't take it personally. Just in that case, I'm senile. Otherwise, I'm not senile.
Yeah, right. You've met a lot of people in your life.
Yeah.
And Chad from the Red Nose Factory says, why do clowns so often live in the woods?
Well, I lived 72 years in the heart of Manhattan where I was born. So I don't know if I fit that description.
You've moved to the woods.
But it's beautiful up here. It is beautiful. You know, the city's great, a lot of stimulation, a lot of interesting performers and performances there. But it's kind of hard to work there. Keith Nelson of Bindlestiff said, if you want to rehearse, you got to get them out of the city. You know, because everybody, if they're in the city, everybody's got 10 things going on, you know, and they're on their cell phone all the time. So sometimes you have to say, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm going away for 3 days. I'm going away for a week, and I'm just going to rehearse, right?
Yeah.
So there is that. And also, like I said, you know, Upper Manhattan's 45 minutes away. So it's not like I'm up in the Adirondacks or something. It's not like a 4-hour drive or anything. It's very easy.
I want to ask you, I want to go back a little bit into the annals of history, if that's okay. Ask you about the book before we kind of come forward in time. But how do you feel now? Because, you know, it is really the Bible of clowning for many people still all these years later. How do you feel about clowns now, when you look at it?
Well, never having read the Bible, I don't know. I've heard of it. I've heard some good quotes from it, but well, yeah, partly I'm surprised. You know, when I did it, I didn't think of it as, you know, that's what I was doing. I do get, I mean, it's nice. I do get a lot of emails and stuff from people who did say it really helped them, you know, especially, you know, going back 20, 30 years, because, you know, they liked what they were doing, but the book kind of gave them a justification, you know, hey, I am really part of a glorious tradition. You know, I'm not just a bozo. This is an art form. This is socially relevant and stuff like that. And that is, yeah. Again, I didn't expect that or anything. I just, but I'm very happy that it had that effect, even if I didn't know that's what I was doing. I mean, a story I've told too many times that I bore myself telling, but the shorter version of it was, you know, I was like 24, 25, and I'd been a childhood actor, then I'd been away on television, then I'd been away from it, and I got back into like the circus and clown stuff, really. And I'd worked with Hovey Burgess at NYU, and Fred and I had we had met in a Lecoq workshop in, I think, 72.
Oh, you went to Lecoq? I didn't know that.
No, it was in New York.
Okay.
It was with Cheryl McFadden.
Right.
And who later became somewhat well known in
Star Trek.
It was Star Trek, not Star Wars. Star Trek, yeah. Who'd she play? I don't know. Anyway, she was the teacher.
While we're hearing that
matter.
voice, do you want to introduce the man behind the camera before you carry on?
I don't know if he wants to be introduced. It's Drew Richardson. A lot of people watching know Drew Richardson.
Hey, Drew.
Who is a clown, very good clown, dramaticfool.com. And Drew lives now 4 minutes from here. So come visit. You get 2 for the price of 1. 2 bald, formerly blonde guy. Well, you're still blonde. I got a little blonde. Where was I? See why the
Le
story
Coq
takes so
Workshop with
long?
Cheryl McFadden.
Anyway, so I'm doing this stuff, but I was also a graduate student at NYU because I had free tuition because I worked there in the library, and at that time they had TDR, the drama review, and so I was like an assistant editor, and we did a popular entertainments issue, and anyway, I had done some writing, and this editor at Hawthorne, she had the idea for the book, not me. She said, she looked around, acquisitions editor, and was like, hey, there's no really good history of clowning in English. And she was right. And she came across me as somebody who had done some writing and was doing some clowning. Now, I hadn't done much of either, but I had the perfect combination. So she contacted me, and I was like, I don't know enough to do that. I'm like 24, give me a break, and I didn't do anything about it. She said, yeah, you got to write a proposal for the salesman, blah, blah, blah. And so I...
Feel free to sit down if you want, John. It's tiring me. It's tiring me seeing you standing up.
I'm fine. I think I'm tiring Drew out.
Okay.
So I didn't do anything. And then, but I might have mentioned it. I did mention it to a couple of friends. And like, you fucking crazy, man? I've been trying to get published for 10 years and you got an offer and you don't do anything about it? Well, so one afternoon, I literally in about 2 hours, I sat down and wrote this 3-page proposal with a chapter outline, and I sent it in. And what they do is they give it to their salesman. The salesman push it to the bookstores. Will the bookstores stock this book? Because if you can't get in, in those days, you couldn't get into the bookstores. Forget it.
Yeah.
So it was 5 months later, I hear back from her. Yep, they want to publish it. We can give you a $10,000 advance. And I was like, I don't know, working with Fred, we were probably making, on a good year, 15,000, maybe 12. I don't know. It was a lot of money. And so I said, oh, okay. And another funny story, don't report me for this. This won't be on social media or anything, right? I didn't have much money those days, so sometimes I would use slugs on the New York City subway rather than pay for tokens. They're like 25 cents, come on. And slugs were the little round discs, that you could get from a electrical knockout box.
Right.
Also, I think there's something like Jamaican half pennies or something. Anyway, and I remember going to Hawthorne, the publisher, getting the check, and I think I cashed it. This was the first part. So I had like $4,000 in my wallet, and I'm using a slug going through the subway.
Old habit.
You can never be too frugal. But anyway, so that's how the book happened. It wasn't, I felt that I was destined to do it, or I had this mission or anything,
Yeah.
And then when I did it, I had, I guess I did a good enough job. I mean, there's a lot that I would change, but, I was 25 years old and, and I had help from Hovey and Judy Burgess, now Judy Finelli, with some of the research, and checking things. And I had helped Hovey on his book as an editor on his Circus Techniques book. And then they both helped me on my book. And my mentor at NYU was Brooks McNamara, who was into popular entertainments. He wrote several books in the area, including Step Right Up about medicine shows. And he was a very good editor. I mean, I had writing talent, but he really helped me with clarity and, really keeping things simple and not too academic.
Well, it is a very, very accessible, very
that's another thing
accessibly
that does
written.
please me. People come out, I don't read too many books, but I was really able just to read your book. So, I like that. I mean, if you fast forward 30 years, whatever, it's when I started doing the physical comedy blog.
Yeah.
That style on the blog is even more informal and jokey, and
Yeah.
I have more
Yeah.
fun with it.
Yeah.
But
Did you,
go ahead.
Did you specifically want to start that blog to as a continuation, though, in some ways, or a sort of filling in of the blanks from the Clown's book, or correcting certain things? Because it seems sometimes that you're speaking back to things that you wrote about in Clowns.
Well, sure, that's inevitable, but no, that wasn't the motivation. I had been away from the scene for at least 15 years. I had kids. And I took a college teaching job where I started a circus troupe, but I ended up doing a lot of other stuff. I got into, because I really didn't have time to rehearse anything or do stuff like that. So I was doing like things you could do on the computer, video and multimedia and stuff. So I'd been away for a long time, and I kind of got dragged back into it by friends. Taught a couple of workshops, and then so it was sort of like it was sort of like a way for me to explore stuff. And I chose physical comedy deliberately instead of clown.
Yeah.
I mean, the overlap is enormous, but I didn't want to get into is that really clown? Is that a true clown? Is this clowning? People ask me that. It just bores me, those kind of discussions.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I have my opinions, but I don't like to, it's all in the eye of the beholder.
Mm-hmm.
So I had started a physical comedy, but my sequel to Clowns was going to be a book on physical comedy. And I had that half done by 1990. I had a Fulbright to France even to work on it.
Oh, wow.
Which is when I did finally study with Lecoq. But I, because of family and a lot of stuff and personal complications, I hadn't gotten any further. So the blog was a way to rejoin that project, because I didn't want to just try to publish that book.
Yeah.
Because I knew there'd be a lot more that I didn't know and stuff. So that's sort of how it happened. And I enjoyed doing it. And I never really quit it. I just drifted away because I had so many other projects going on, and I was working on shows. I directed some shows, worked with Angela Delfini on a show that from Italy, and which we performed there and in Barcelona. And we did an 8-9 city US tour of 3 years ago. So that was one project. A couple other projects. I ran the New York City Physical Comedy Lab for how many years? 5, 6, until COVID hit. That was in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. And so I kind of just drifted away from the blog, but I didn't mean to. In fact, I have a funny list. It's blog ideas. I say, oh, that would be great for the blog if only had time for the blog.
So do you think you might resurrect it?
Who knows? I got so many projects,
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't paid my taxes yet this year, or my parking tickets, or my it's overwhelming.
Oh, you need an assistant to do that stuff, John, so you can focus on the clowning.
Yeah. Well,
so one of the things that I love about Clowns, the book, is and the blog, really, is that you present a lot of information in a very accessible way, but then you also, and this is what I really like, you add these little drops of what would I call it? Kind of not opinion exactly, but sort of research perspective, like on a question. So you do introduce research questions, and you don't spend a lot of time arguing one way or the other, but you kind of drop in little hints as to what your view on this particular question is, and it kind of leaves it hanging for people. So like in the I think that what I'm remembering is that there's the chapter on fools and jesters in the courts in medieval Europe.
Yeah.
And, you raise this question about how much influence did they really have? how much did they really threaten the power of the king?
Yeah.
How much did they, and all this kind of, and you suggest that it's really a kind of over romanticization that's happened subsequently, and that really they didn't have that kind of there wasn't maybe that kind of conflict or tension with the king, or the kind of sense of danger that we sometimes ascribe.
Right. Well, I'm sure that happened, but how common was it? How frequent was it would be the question. I don't think it's all nonsense, but a lot of clown stuff gets over romanticized, and we don't really know, because a lot, that kind of history, it's very anecdotal, then I told that king, you just imagine these stories being told and how they would be transformed over time and everything.
Yeah, they're good stories.
No, I mean, I think there's meat there. I think it was a thing, but it wasn't necessarily as much as of a widespread thing as we'd like to think. And probably a lot of the jesters were more lackeys than voices of reason or of the people.
Yes.
We'll never know for sure.
Yeah. But it's an interesting, there are a number of examples of that. And I've really enjoyed, I only very recently read the 3 parts of on female clowns that you did in the blog. I think quite late on. I think they were one of the last blogs that you wrote, that 3-part series on female clowns. And I just really appreciate how much how much depth and detail there is in there, but also kind of the lightness of the theorizing. You do a lot of theorizing there. Why were women left out of the circus, for example?
It's funny, Drew and I were just discussing this literally an hour ago, and there's 2 theories, because circus, the funny thing about circus, because women often, it was family, and that's where the clowns came from, mostly before the 1960s, and the women in the circus, everybody worked, and the women could be equestrians, tight wire walkers, acrobats. They weren't like just housewives. But when it came to clowning, that was only men, right? So why is that? And the two theories, and probably they both have some truth. One is being funny is a power, and it's a power that men have traditionally yielded. I can make you laugh, right? And they don't necessarily want to give women that power. If you look at the history of stand-up comedy, it wasn't until people like Joan Rivers came along that women started to edge their way into the mainstream of that. Then the other thing, and this I've read, I don't know how widespread this sentiment was, but was that, well, it's not feminine for a woman to take a pratfall. We don't want to see our delicate female friends getting hurt, even if it's fake. We don't, women shouldn't get slapped. And you can see too, if you look today and you say, well, domestic violence and stuff, probably it's a harder thing, for women to be struck, because it's a problem in society, So there's a lot of things that contributed to it. We don't think of clowns being a prestigious role, but within the world of popular entertainment, there was a power to that I don't think they wanted to give to women.
Yeah. And if clowning is about status to some extent, then perhaps there's nothing funnier than seeing the highest status person being brought low, right? So maybe does that have to do with it as well, that men because in society men have tended to be higher status. There's an easier joke there. It's easier for us to understand a man who's supposedly high status being brought down, and it's more tricky when we see a low status, and that includes race as well, right? To see, race, non-white people and females have a potentially lower status, an image, identity in society, and so they maybe in some ways identify more with the clown character, but perhaps it's potentially less funny in some way.
Yeah, two things that makes me think of. Annie Fratellini was married to Pierre Tex, and he played the white face to her Auguste. There's a couple of clips on YouTube, and it wasn't violent, but she got the best of him. He had the status, and it worked. She was more she was more the Auguste. She reminded me a bit, her character of, what is her name? I'm going to mispronounce it, but in Fellini, Giuliette Messina, something like that.
Oh yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And the other thing with another example I was thinking of is Fouti and Chocolat. Right?
Yeah.
And
right.
Now, there's this recent movie.
Yeah.
With
James Thierry.
Yeah. And Thierry plays Fouti, who is white, and Omar Sy plays Chocolat.
Yeah. It's a really great
movie. I did
actually.
review this on my blog.
Yeah.
And I will say two things about it. The physical comedy clowning in it is actually very good, which is rare. The history is bullshit. I mean, they just totally distorted. And some of the distortion is just, typical stuff they do to make it more dramatic. They meet on Chocolat's or Fouti's deathbed, which whatever it is, none of these things ever happened. And Fouti didn't discover Chocolat. He was already a star in Paris. But they do make it more of a lesson in racism and how Chocolat was exploited and getting slapped around. But it's a delicate issue, but it wasn't that cut and dry, because Chocolat was a star in his own right. And he slapped Fouti around a lot too. It wasn't just some kind of sadist thing. It was as the Auguste, he would get his revenge. So, there was an interesting dynamic, and this is like, 1899 or something like that, they're in their prime. So, yeah,
it's an interesting movie because there's the race issue, but also it must have been really fascinating for them as performers to try to reconstruct the physical comedy from very little in terms of evidence, right?
You can also look on YouTube, there are 2 video clips of Fouti and Chocolat.
Yeah.
I think I'm sure I put them on my blog post. So
I think so.
So there is some evidence, yeah. And
but I always imagine what fun it must have been just the reconstruction. Trying to imagine what clowning was really like.
Yeah.
In those days,
well,
and then
James Thierry, who is Chaplin's grandson, right?
Yeah.
He's terrific. I mean, if anybody could do it, he could, and he did. So I would definitely recommend those who haven't seen it. What's it called in English, Drew? Do you know? It has another name in English.
Oh, I just know it as Chocolat.
Or just Chocolat. Anyway, you can find it.
It's a really good movie to watch. I also appreciated in your blog a movie I haven't seen, which I'm going to see, which is Circo, about Mexican, the small Mexican family.
My memory of it isn't crystal clear. But I recommend it. I remember liking it. I remember that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, about a very, kind of Mexican mud show circus and the family and all that. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it very much reminded me of my own research in Colombia because I did
Oh, right.
my
Yeah.
PhD
Yeah,
was
you
based
should definitely see it.
on clowning in Colombia, and so I spent some time with exactly. I mean, seeing some images from that movie was like being back in this little family circus that I spent time with in Colombia. It was amazing. Very cool. So, yeah, and on that theme, John, in terms of your own research, I have picked up bits and pieces here and there, but I'm not fully familiar with the practice-based research that you've done. And I was wondering if you would tell us a bit more about that. Practice-based research, like where you've been exploring some questions around physical comedy or clowning, but through a production, through a workshop, or
okay.
What are some of the questions or issues that you have explored through practice, through workshops?
I would say the place, well, you always learn from workshops. Students come up with things you never thought of, or a different way of approaching it. And, when you try to put stuff to use in a performance, again, you discover, right? Okay. You're trying to make it personal, right? Trying to make it not just a trick, but something that works with character and situation. But I guess where I did it most, not just me, but everybody who came there, was in the New York City Physical Comedy Lab, where we met a couple times a week for, like I said, 5 or 6 years. And it was just a group. I didn't teach it. I coordinated it. And people would come in with any kind of idea that they wanted to explore. Usually physical, but, anything imaginable. And there would be a group of, 6 to 15 people there, and we would just do it. So, I mean, another thing, if I had time, would be to write an article about some of that stuff. There are, we do have I'm not too busy for the blog. I'm also too busy for Facebook. I drifted away from that 4 years ago now.
Probably a good thing.
And, but there's a New York NYC Physical Comedy blog is a site on Facebook, and we do have some videos on there that people can see. One thing we did that was very specific, I ran across these Edison videos, Thomas Edison, like 1893, literally, of vaudevillians who were, they're like 30 seconds each, but they were these trick doors, where you think the door is rotating around this side, then that side, and this one flips this way, and this one flips that way.
So did you recreate some of those? You tried to recreate some of those doors?
Yeah. We built doors and everything. I watched them, studied them, and then, some of those same tricks, some of them show up in a couple of bits by Keaton in is it high? No, what he's going through. Is it High Sign? It is High Sign, right? Yeah, in High Sign, and in Harold Lloyd in one of his early shorts. But yeah, so I sort of came up. Okay, I want this door, this door, this door, and this door, and they're complicated because they take weight, they revolve, they take stress. This wasn't something that I would be able to build. And have them last more than a day before they fell apart. So I got Adam Strauss, who's a very good, he builds a lot of stuff for circus and magic. He's in near New York in Sleepy Hollow. He's also the brother of clown, some of you know, Peter Daniel Strauss. And he has a business called Theatrical Contrivances. And Adam we built 3 door frames was sort of modular, that we had different doors, like 5 different doors that could fit in them.
Yeah.
And then we tried to see what kind of material could come out of that. So we'd often just come up with an idea, one day is, we're hiding an object. There's a hat gets stolen, it goes from here to there, to there, to there, to there. Another day would be a chase scene. Another day, it was just, hey, it's a super fast restaurant. It's who knows? So
that sounds, because there's such a history of doors in clowning and circus. I mean, I think I remember in your chapter on knockabouts and cascadeurs, I think
the Hand-and-Lees and
Hand-and-Lees jumping through, and there's a picture of one of them kind of leaping head first through a trapdoor in a piano or something like that.
No, we had that.
Yeah.
I think I'm still the only one who went through it.
Not surprised.
Yeah, it scared everybody, which I did a few years ago. I probably was about 4 or 5 years ago, but yeah, I went through it without killing myself. It is kind of scary because, it looks like a wall. You're diving into a wall.
Yeah.
But you do have to do it perfect because, you're too low if you bend your knees, or you're going to hit your knees on below or your heels above. And there were a lot of injuries with those, actually. They're not so simple.
It reminds me.
And of course, the history with those is that sometimes they would have them high up, and an Arlecchino with a hidden springboard could bounce up and dive through what looked like the face of a grandfather clock. And there were stagehands on the other side holding a blanket to catch him. But if you didn't tip him enough, and that happened, you could end up with some broken bones because there was no blanket there to catch you.
Which is the Buster Keaton movie where they're going around a house and he's being chased, and it's literally like trapdoors.
That's High Sign. Yeah,
maybe that's High Sign. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of that.
Stuff in it. That has a lot of the stuff.
Yeah. It also reminds me of that Marx Brothers scene in the big store. I think it is. There's a chase
with the Murphy beds.
Yeah, the Murphy beds.
Yeah,
and the kind of like laundry hatches and things that
they
leap through, and chutes. They're going down chutes, and it's very reminiscent of that kind of tradition.
Right. I built a Murphy bed for my apartment in the city, but we only use it as a bed.
Yeah, it's a lot of comic potential there. Peter Shub says, hi, John, come to Berlin. Full of doors and walls, entrances and exits everywhere.
Invite me.
I think you're invited. I think it just happened. This is the invitation.
I accept. There you go.
All right,
Peter. I don't
Peter,
think I'm going anywhere this fall, but I'm hoping to get back to Europe next spring. I have some likely stuff in Zagreb and Vienna again, and other possibilities. So yeah, I'd love to get. I would love. The best way to travel is to go do physical comedy workshops, because you get to meet people and hang out. It becomes a real personal thing. And one thing about me, like I said, I was away from the clown circus world for I don't know how many years, at least 15. But I really found that I get along with most people, but clowns are the people I'd rather share a beer with than anybody. Just hang out with, so it's more my community. So, hey, if I get paid to travel and because wherever you go, it's funny, you don't think of it, but I mean, you probably know, but there's a clown community all over the place. It's really interesting. Yeah.
So I just have one more question, sort of curiosity before we wrap up, because we're close to the hour. Which is that, when this moved to physical comedy, calling things physical comedy, and a lot of this interest in the mechanics of comedy, which it fascinates me as well. I'm wondering how much connection you feel you have also to this. I don't know. The more Lecoq, and also pachinko type of clowning, where it's more about this personal journey or a personal investigation of the self. And
of course. No, I don't see a contradiction between the two necessarily. And I didn't go away from that. I just chose not to be the expert on it or try to be, you know.
Yeah.
It's also maybe something a little harder to write about because, you know, it's a little more intangible. You know, physical comedy is partly technical. I mean, it's more than that, but it's partly technical. No, I mean, you know, like I said, Fred and I met in a Cook type workshop.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that was my training in the, you know, and later on when I was teaching clowning, I stole some of LeCoq's exercises and used them in workshops, you know, including, you know, like the Make Me Laugh. And then, you know, there I am in LeCoq's workshop with LeCoq in 1990, having to do that exercise that I had taught. It went okay.
Yeah.
As for Pachinko, love him. I mean, I was the guy who brought him to America.
Oh, really?
I brought him. Wow. He came to our first festival. He taught. We had Cheryl Cashman and Ian Wallace in that festival, and again in the '85 festival. And we had Richard down in '84 for a very long workshop, like 2-month-long workshop. And sadly, I was there. I was teaching a workshop and in Toronto when he was dying. So I mean, I was actually there in his hospital room on his deathbed. No, we were. I was a big fan. I was a big fan, and I think his work's important. Yeah. So, you know, what I appreciate, what I, you know, doesn't mean I can feel qualified to write about it as much anymore, because other people have gone a lot farther with that kind of stuff.
Sure.
You know? And it's all.
And as you say, there doesn't have to be a contradiction, as you say. I mean, these
right.
The complementary skill sets or approaches.
Absolutely. And the other thing I would say to wrap this up is that I did start a revised version of the Clowns book years ago, and it's still on the back burner. It's like it's not bringing it up to date. It's just bringing the chapters up to date with research that's happened since then. And you know, I can now, because of museums giving away color posters, you know, digital files that you can reproduce for free. You know, you can use any. I could have 10 times as much color in a revised book, but I don't know if I'll get to it. You know, it's like one of 7 projects, and I'm doing okay for my age, but I don't have that much energy. You know, like, oh God, one thing at a time.
You're the kind of person that always has a million projects on the back burner.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get stuff done, you know, but you can only get one done at a time.
Yeah.
Maybe 2.
Yeah.
You know, and this one took over, and it was kind of perfect for COVID, right? Because
totally. Yeah.
You know, just
it's been a
up
real
in the
pleasure
woods,
talking
as you
to you.
say, clowns in the woods.
And the fact that you did it with Fred is that Fred's been involved is kind of poetic and nice. You know that. That's the continuation of your clown journey.
Exactly. Yeah. And Fred Collins, another clown carpenter, been a third partner in this. And a lot of other clowns have been by and lent their hand. Michael Rossman was here many times. Drew's here. Hillary Chaplin's been up. Michael Zerfy from Vermont been a lot of help and the painting and everything. So we have a lot of people, but I'm here every day.
It's beautiful. And if anybody wants to know more about what you're doing, or perhaps come and rent the studio for a project or something, how would they do that? Can they just, email
Yeah,
you?
I mean, I don't know what I don't know if you said rent a studio. I'm not even thinking of rental. It might be barter. It's not a business. But yeah, just write me. Or if you're in the neighborhood, drop by. I'm always here. 11 Cliff Road, Greenwood Lake, New York, 10925. Yeah, my email address, it's my name at Gmail. All you got to do is spell my name right. So,
Yeah, with the E at the end.
no,
I mean, not at the end.
TOWSCN,
Yeah. Well, John, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much
Likewise.
for your time. There's so much richness and great stories and just a fun reflection on things. So thank you.
Okay, well, come visit sometime. You get east.
Yeah. Well, now we're traveling a little bit more. That's definitely a possibility. I would love to drop by and meet you in person.
Okie doke.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, ciao, ciao.
Yeah. And bye, Drew. Thank you for your beautiful cameramanship.
He's a pro. His arm's very tired. He thought he was going to put that on a desk. I sat down.
All right. Take it easy, both of you. All right. Well, there we go, folks. Another amazing conversation with somebody who is, sort of a legend, really. So it was really a pleasure talking to John. And thanks so much for tuning in and being part of this Clown-versation. Don't forget, I will be running the Clown Connection course in September. So if you're interested in that, just shoot me an email. And, I think you should all just go and drop by John's amazing Coyote studio as quickly as possible and hang out there and just listen to those fabulous stories and do some juggling and clowning. What could be better than that? It sounds like a blissful time. So thanks so much again for tuning in. Next week, I'll be talking to Audrey Crabtree, one of the former founders of the New York Clown Festival, or in its more recent version. An amazing clown, bouffon performer, and we'll be hearing about what she's been up to over the last few years. I'm sure it will be fascinating also. So have an amazing week. Keep clowning, everybody. Take it easy. Bye for now.